Welcome friends, welcome back to the kitchen. Today we're going to do a little bit of a free-form pork chop and sauce type thing. Trying out a new pan. This is possibly a new sponsor, but I want to try the pan for a little while. It is a 3-ply pan, stainless steel on the outside, aluminum in the middle, sandwiched in the middle, and then this layer is carbon steel. And I've got 2 layers on here now of seasoning. Haven't fully built up the seasoning yet. Still playing around with it. I really like carbon steel. I like carbon steel more than cast iron. I think carbon steel is much better, more versatile overall than cast iron. But it has some problems, and I think this pan solves most of them. We'll talk about that later if it actually works out. So I've got the pan on the heat. And we're going to start out with some bacon, because, you know, there's not enough pork and pork chops. You've got to use some bacon, too. While the bacon renders out, I've got 2 pork chops here. So, a little salt and pepper, both sides. Okay, I think the bacon is done. So I'm going to take the bacon out. This is where you need to look at the bottom of your pan and say, is there too much fat in the bottom of this pan? Or is there just enough to move on to the next operation? If there's too much, you pour some out. If you think it's just about right, you leave it in. I'm going to pour some of this out, because I think there's just a little bit too much. There we go. Now, back on the heat, and in go the chops. And so we're not going to cook them all the way through. This does go into the oven. The oven's on at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. It will finish cooking in there. You just want to brown the outside. And if this is a weeknight meal and you're, slammed for time and you really want to get this going, just brown them on one side. And then use the side that's browned as the presentation side. The other side is going to cook through really nicely. It's going to cook in a bit of sauce. There's going to be tons of flavor. You've built an incredible fond on the bottom of this pan with the bacon. There's so much flavor here, you're not really going to miss browning on both sides. I've got some time, so get a bit of browning on each side. Okay, so I've got the pork chops off the heat. Now I'm going to add a couple of sliced shallots. Okay, the shallots are sliced up pretty thin, so they're cooking off really quickly. To that, I'm going to add a couple of sliced up apples. And I've left some apples pretty whole. And some of the others I've sliced a little bit more thinly. I want some of the apples to break down a little bit more than others. Still like to have a big chunk of apple. Be able to slice into the apple and take a little bit of pork with the sauce at the same time. Okay. Yeah, I know it's one of those one pan 40 bowl type recipes. Anyway, so everything is browned. Now it's time to make the sauce. So I have apple cider. This is fresh pressed apple cider. There's no alcohol, it's not fizzy, it's none of those things. It's just apples pressed, unfiltered. It's called apple cider here. Other parts of the world, that would just be called apple juice. And if you referred to cider, it would be something that is alcohol-based or fermented apple juice. Can mean many things. I'm just using the apple juice. You could use white wine. You could use beer. You could use or fermented apple cider. All of that would work really well. So I want to get up the fond on the bottom and then beurre Meunier. And that's something I use often on the show. It is equal parts butter and flour mashed together into kind of a paste. I'm going to put in maybe about a tablespoon to start with, and then just whisk that in. It doesn't clump because the fat covers the flour particles, keeping them from clumping. And it stirs in really quickly, and it it makes a really silky smooth sauce. At this point, I'm also going to put in some sage leaves. I've just got sage leaves. I'm going to put them in. I think this needs a little bit more beurre Meunier, probably another tablespoon or so. And now everything just goes back in. So in go the pork chops. And whatever juice came out of them. Bacon goes back in on top and around. Apples go back in along with the shallots. And into the oven. Now the oven's preheated to 400 degrees and you want to cook this until the chops are cooked through, which is an internal temperature of about 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Except you don't. Okay, so full confession time. Julie and I just took 2 months off. I worked like a dog for months to bank up enough content to fill those 2 months so that I could just shut down, not do anything. This is my first day back. I've made a pineapple upside down cake, which you will see on Sunday's show. This is my first day of cooking back after 2 months of not even coming into the studio, not thinking about the studio, nothing about the studio. I forgot to add the Dijon mustard. So, off camera, I took a tablespoon of Dijon mustard and I mixed it into the sauce, and then I put everything back in the pan and stuck it back in the oven. So you're gonna have to imagine that happened. It happened. It's gonna be really good. Okay. Pork chop,
Hey, Glenn.
apple,
Hey, friends.
and oh, I already got them, Jules.
Oh, I
all ready to
already
go.
have a task to do.
And a little bit of sauce.
That's pretty fancy. Sauce and fruit. Is that bacon on your pork?
Well, of course it's bacon. Yeah. It's not enough pork in a pork chop. You gotta have bacon.
Okay. I don't even know what to say to that. Bacon flavored pork chops.
Yep.
That just, okay. Smells good. Get some of that onion.
A little bit of apple.
I like the apple. I like the sweetness.
The apple's quite nice.
That's nice. And it still has a bit of a bite to it. Like, it's not cloyingly sweet.
Mustard.
Oh, there's mustard in it.
The mustard takes away a bit of that sweetness. And because I had forgotten to mix in the mustard, it would have been just as easy to tip in some vinegar to add that acidity to sort of play a balance between the sweet and sour. This comes together really quickly. You watched me, I used quite a few bowls because I kept emptying the pan out. You don't need to empty the pan out that many times. I mean, you could just fry everything in there together.
You got really fancy?
I did get a little bit...
overly complicated?
Yeah, I mean, you could simplify that really easily and just in a bigger pan. And you could also scale this really quickly. Right?
Yeah.
Use a bigger pan and you can do more pork
A
chops.
giant paella pan.
Yeah, exactly. But that is a great fall meal that uses...
For some reason, I think Brussels sprouts would go well with it.
roasted Brussels sprouts would go really well. And it uses pork chops, which, when you go to the grocery store today...
Were they on sale today?
End of August 2024, beginning of September 2024, it is one of the more reasonably priced proteins in the meat department.
There you go.
Anyway, thanks for stopping by. See you again soon. So in the ever-changing landscape of YouTube, if you want to help this channel out, if you want to help us grow or maintain or continue to provide this content, content is free for you to watch, but it costs real money to make. So if you subscribe and like, that would be great. And if you would like one of these snazzy aprons, the link is down below. They're made in Canada, they're high quality, and since announcing them, the first ones have arrived.
Hey, hurrah!
To viewers like you who have purchased them, and the reviews so far have been great. People really like them. They're sturdy. You're going to buy it once, and you'll never buy another apron.